too. I learned a lot of things. I've been doing me, I've been doing okay. Come fuck with me, be my Beyonce. Know you love me, but your girl, you're crazy. She's so great.
I'm not gonna lie. I forgot to put my mic on. Like, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I invested for you guys. My bad. Because I'm so used to, you know what I'm saying, just using my computer mic and whatever. Came a long way. But welcome back to Let's Help You Grow Now. I'm going to do a reaction to what people say about Michael Jackson, creative genius and personality. I love Michael Jackson. He's one of the best artists in the world. Like, he is the best artist in the world that ever existed. Even over Tupac, even over Biggie, in my opinion. They're definitely legends, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, nobody compares to Michael Jackson. Nobody will beat Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even, I'm an artist myself, so I wouldn't even try to compete. You know what I'm saying?
We worked with Mike, or knew of Mike, to get an accurate representation of who Michael Jackson actually was. People who were with him, interacted with him, and knew him probably had a more precise picture of him than news media outlets back in the 90s and the 2000s. I've divided this series into different categories. This time, I'm gathering first-hand accounts of people who talk about his creativity / personality, and I chose to bring them together because they often go hand in hand. Of course, you can never get the full picture of the man from these accounts alone, but it still paints a nice picture of him as a fully fledged human being. And who better to give us accounts than those who were actually close to him? All of the videos are in the description below, and my sources are third-party sources, YouTube accounts who I really appreciate. You can check out the full videos in the description below. The first clip is talking more about his creative process as Michael was creating, where Nelson George and his co-host talk about his rhythmic approach to music. Michael wanted to know how he would dance to the beat as he was in the studio, making the vocal inflections of a fundamental part of the beat. Listen to this.
It's fast. I talked to Teddy too for this story that I wrote, and two things that jumped out. That he talked about Michael wanted to know how he would dance to each song. So he's dancing in the studio in a different way, and that's part of his songwriting process. That he's hearing the record and he's figuring out how to move to it. And I think that's part of why you get so many of the guttural and all those sort of things, because it's a sort of mouth way of dancing to the song and relating to it rhythmically before you start relating to it linguistically. The other thing that Teddy said that was really interesting is Mike has said remix all the songs. And they sound like remixes. When he said that, I'm like, that makes so much sense. They sound like, you get the original version.
That's interesting. His whole being was a part of the creative process. We can hear that in albums such as Dangerous. What we hear is an artist expressing himself with his full body, using much more than just his vocals. And most MJ fans already know this. When Michael was in the studio, he usually danced along, clapped along, and snapped his fingers. He took the creative process to another level and expressed more than pure vocals, but included a full act in the studio. Another thing that's interesting is that he, as he was working in the studio sessions, was usually learning from the artists he was working with, being genuinely interested in their perspective and how they saw and did things. This is from Marsha Ambrosius, who worked with Michael with the song Butterflies and Invincible.
It's indescribable to have someone of that stature respect you, first and foremost. Like for him to encourage me to tell him how, show him how to sing that ad-lib, to do these harmonies. And I'm like, Mike, you showed me how to do everything that I'd ever do in music. And it's like, no, I'm still learning. When I heard you, yeah, I heard myself. And I want to do your song, but I want you to show me how you did it. Just an all-around amazing person.
This notion of him being able to take directions from other producers and artists without compromising his own position, of course, comes from other people he worked with as well. This is from Lenny Kravitz, who did Another Day with Michael.
So I just really thought about him, and I just started channeling his vibe and wrote that song. And then he came in, and I had the song. He said, "Okay, teach me the song." So at first I played him the song. He liked it. And then he said, "Okay, teach me the song, the phrasing." I wrote out the words, the vocals, And then he goes behind the glass into the room and he says, I want to do this exactly the way you want it. So if
How often do you hear that?
yeah, so if I mess up, stop me. So he starts playing and or starts singing, track comes on, and within about 3 words, he messed the melody up. But I'm standing there, I got the talk button right there. So am I really gonna stop Michael Jackson from singing? Like, this is what I have to do? So I said, Michael, no, that's not how it goes. It goes like this, la, 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 la. Okay, great. Music starts, does it again, messes up again. So this happened for about 15 minutes. It was funny, but he was like, no, no, no. Don't stop doing that. I want to do it exactly the way you wrote it and the way you want it. Then he got it, and we actually worked for a few days. Really funny, like
You cracking jokes.
Laughed a lot.
Yeah.
And for the skinny guy that he was, I never saw anybody eat more food in my life.
So it's interesting to see how Michael approaches music that he hasn't written or composed himself. This was, of course, an invincible Michael, a rather different Michael than Bad Era Michael, who, contrary to 2001 Mike, wrote and composed most of the songs on Bad. The sound engineers and the producers back then, by the way, A-Team and B-Team, as they were called, plus Quincy Jones, thought the demos that Michael had produced and showcased to the team for Bad were so good that not much of the compositions had to be changed, which is a story for another time, but I digress. The Invincible Mike was rather synergistically allowing other creative voices to play their parts and letting go of the creative control that he had sought out from the onset of the Motown days, allowing their visions to seep through his music to a higher degree. Back in the beginning of his career, he was, as his brother Jermaine was writing in his book, You're Not Alone, Through a Brother's Eye, hesitantly but steadily wanted to have more creative control within a Motown Jackson 5 machinery that didn't necessarily work like that. The Jackson 5 had in-house producers and writers that very often wrote and produced for them. It's interesting that throughout his career, he went from not having creative control at all, to having it fully and completely, and ending it as a synergistically creative player who, despite his stature, learned from others.
That's what I'm saying. That man is a legend, bro. Like, even with him being open to someone else's vision and completing it, that's talent in its own.
Manifesting his creative vision into reality, he was willing to do anything to have the right people for roles in his art. Naomi Campbell said that he was willing to pay her for her missed shows if she chose to do the In the Closet video. And she had, I don't know, 10 or 15 shows? Check it out.
The phone call came, and I remember saying, I've got 20-something shows to do, and it would be irresponsible for me to cancel my fashion show, so I cannot do a video. Then came the reply, I'm going to pay for all the shows that you're going to miss. Oh, I don't know. I have to speak to my agent. I don't know if I can do that. Might look unprofessional. In the end, I flew to LA to do the video. The memories I have from that time was amazing. Michael was amazing. A child, yes, at certain points, but a man that knew, a perfectionist of what he was doing, how he wanted it to come out, how he wanted it to.
My man was operating like a firm. Damn. She goes on to saying, like many others, that he was a perfectionist, a dichotomy of a man and a child who often blended work and play in the same arena, blending personality and creativity to create an atmosphere of friendship with people he worked with. This child-man dichotomy, it's referenced by Kevin Federline as well, who claims that even if he was childlike one moment, he could be stern and perfectionist at the same time.
You were back at the answer we did. Yes. Did you interact with Michael? Yeah. I mean, it was interesting, you know, like the type of character that he was, like a kid around on stage, you know, and on the set. We sat out at that Universal Studios lot for like 2 weeks trying to get one video done. You know, back then they were turning videos around in 2 days. So I mean, you can imagine the production of what it was, you know, and that to see like his interaction with him and Marlon Brando, with driving around on golf carts, like acting like they're gonna run people over. And then there's other times where we were on set and we were getting ready to dance. You know, Michael has like some squirt gun or something. He was like hiding behind stuff, and people like you didn't know it was him. People are like trying to act out their scenes, and he's squirting them in the face with water and stuff. I mean, it was, you know, everybody was just having a good time. But when came down to like business, it was crazy. I remember the first time, like, we sat there and rehearsed for about a week. And then before he even came in the room, you knew he was there. You know, it was like that type of presence. It was just nuts. Everybody, you could hear pins out there before he walked in. And everybody came in, everybody met him, shook his hand. He's like, all right, let me see it. You know, hiding behind his shades, no music, click track. And it's like, dude, come on. How hard can it get? You know, he's just like nervous as shit. Probably one of the most nerve-wracking. Yeah. And I was the one that like messed up the first time too. He wasn't even looking at us, like he was looking at the ground. And he heard me mess up and he looked up and looked at me like, you better get it together, dude. It's great.
Well, Fetterman says that he gave him a stern look after messing up. It's pretty obvious that Michael was a perfectionist. This stern, high-standard execution is also evident on one of his concerts, where he told the producer sternly, although disguising it as singing, that he had made a mistake, singing, "What are you gonna do?" Check this out.
Definitely a legend.
So childlike, most definitely. There's a reason why he was the great. He was very stern and strict with people he worked with in terms of execution, lifting them to a higher standard. If you were to work with Michael, you better know your stuff. This next clip I'm going to show is not directly related to his creativity, personality, but to show how he perceived things. Howard Bloom, author and music publicist, claimed on Joe Rogan podcast that Mike was on another level and perceived things on a different level than everyone else, especially when he perceived creative works from other artists, portfolios that Bloom and Mike checked out together. According to him, Michael straight up perceived things differently. Check it out.
They didn't know.
How well did you know Michael Jackson?
I thought very, very well. And he was the most remarkable person I've ever met in my life. And when I tell people how remarkable, they don't believe me. He was, you know, you and I and Jamie are on a certain level. And we don't know we're on a certain level because we figured this is the range of humanity. If we go out and meet anybody on the street or even anybody famous, I work with Buzz Aldrin these days, what we're going to encounter is another person pretty much like us. Sorry, in Michael Jackson's case, he did not fit on this normal plane at all. He was on a plane somewhere where you've never seen a human being before. So the first time I met him, we were at his brother Marlon's pool house. It's a little house with just enough room for one big room on the first floor and another big room on the second floor with a little tiny staircase between them. Michael and I are standing next to each other. So his elbow is at his left elbow is at my right elbow. His left knee is at my right knee. And we have a meeting with the art director from CBS. I'm condensing the story, there's lots more. But we're having a meeting with the art director, and she walks in with 5 of the most gorgeous portfolios you've ever seen in your life. Hand-carved cherry wood, hand-carved leather. And these are from guys I know because I started in pop culture in the art business. And these were my legendary competitors. And Michael opens the first page of the first portfolio, and he gets a square inch into it, a postage stamp size piece into it. And he goes, oh, and his knees begin to buckle. And he gets another 2 square inches into it, just lifts the page a little bit further. Oh, he lifts it even further. Oh, Michael is seeing the infinite in in things that even the artist didn't see it with such infinity as Michael is seeing it. And by the time he gets to the full page, he's having a full-scale aesthetic orgasm. I have never seen anything like this in my life. And remember, the first two rules of science are the truth at any price, including the price of your life, and look at things right under your nose as if you've never seen them before, and then proceed from there. Michael is seeing the infinite in the tiniest of things, and you've never seen a human with this degree of awe, wonder, and surprise anywhere in your life. And I will never see another human like that again in my lifetime. Michael was beyond belief, utterly beyond belief. And his commitment to his audience.
Now, this is Mike's publicist, so even I'll take it with a grain of salt, even if there's no doubt that Mike was something else. But who knows? He might have perceived things differently than anyone else. I mean, on stage, there's a reason why everyone gets so hypnotized by his performances. He channels things in a way that is not normal in everyday life. Not only perceiving things differently, but receiving them differently and as if from another creative realm, and then expressing them outwardly to his audience. So even if it seems exaggerated, it's fascinating what Bloom says. I want to return to Marshawn Roche's. He kind of says something that encompasses the good side of Mike in a perfect way.
To work with the king and then be friends with the king for real, like him calling my hotel every day that we were working together to make sure I was okay. And I remember him calling me one day to make sure that it was okay for him to miss a studio session because he had a prior engagement. So first of all, I'm like, why would you even ask me permission? Who am I? Like, because I know you're the producer of this record and I really want to make sure that I do my job for you. I'm just letting you know that I have to get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I was like, sure, you can go do that, and then I'll see you at the studio the next day. Prior to that, the artists that I'd worked with wouldn't have the common courtesy to say, you know what, I'm gonna be 2 hours late to the studio that day. Just won't show up. No, like Michael Jackson asked me if it was okay. And I looked at him like, Mike, you're a good guy. Such a thorough guy, just a good dude. And his voice was a lot raspier and deeper and such presence that I don't think anyone else would ever get to experience. And just smelled so good. I don't know what cologne that was, but it was amazing.
Okay, so besides the good smell and the cologne, he was polite, gentle for his stature, to ask if it was okay to postpone their studio day to another day, not be an agent or anything or manager, but personally, either Mike didn't know how big he actually was, which I doubt, or he actually was that dude. One last story though, and this is something Mike's brother Jermaine said in his book, which I mentioned earlier. I highly recommend checking it out. People might think that soft-spoken Michael was timid, not being able to confront people that wronged him, which is wrong. Michael uses anger in his creativity, which is evident, by the way, back in the Thriller days, where he one day wanted to buy a llama. As most MJ fans know, Michael loved animals and had many. Him and Jermaine drove to this farmer, I think it was out in Alabama or something, where they entered the shop. The farmer waved them off, saying that there was no llamas for sale, even if Jermaine clearly saw 6 in the back. Jermaine, of course, spends about a second or two to realize that this guy's taste in music was far removed from Michael's Thriller, but still calmly replies that you guys have 6 in the back. The reply of this dude is, you know how much these cost? Michael smiles and says he does. With that, a lot of questions about ID, about the brothers' occupation, and what they do to afford it, how they will keep it, yada, 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 comes. And Michael explains everything and says that he has been handling animals for a long time now and knows how to take care of them. After they give him the ID, the man realizes that these indeed are the Jackson brothers. His face lights up, backpedaling about how he had to be careful, because this is how it is. I can't sell it to just about anyone, And the brothers see right through this, and Mike gives the least Michael answer I can imagine. So you're happy to accept me because, well, let me do it in Michael. So you're happy to accept me because you now know who I am? You're an ass. And we don't want to spend our money in here anymore. On the drive home, Michael was exasperated, saying, can you believe that? Or let me say it in a microphone. Can you believe that? What is this area about? What are they teaching their kids? From this personality,
Yeah, so All right, so look, Michael was definitely, definitely a good person. You know what I'm saying? A different person. He was just super serious, super genuine. He want people to be genuine with him. And especially now in 2022, that's hard to find. So you can find, your supporters or whoever can be super genuine. Cause I'm like that too. It's like, hey, you wasn't messing with me, you know what I'm saying? Right now when I'm in the trench, you know what I'm saying? Like start from the bottom, on the way to the top. Don't mess with me when I'm at the top. Simple as that. You know what I'm saying? If you treat me this a certain way while I'm quote unquote, you know, on the bottom or whatever, keep it that way. Don't switch up because you heard this is going on now and I'm in this position now. No, we're gonna keep the same energy. And that's what Michael Jackson stood for. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what he stood for. So that's just something for you guys to think about. You know what I'm saying? And how people realize like you're not the one at all. You know, but it's perspective.
The utility combo came the song "What's Your Life," which I think is unreleased, with lyrics that match that exact situation. These are the lyrics. I have a lot of other stories from Mike, by the way. I just don't know if they'll be entertaining on a platform such as YouTube because it's scripted for me rather than from other celebrities that you can't see if I'm talking about it, And I don't know if it's a visually good way to do content, but I wanted to try. If you like more stories like this, hit me up in the comment section. All in all, Michael definitely blended his personality with his music in all sorts of ways, channeling different aspects of his personality with his creativity and reflecting these aspects of himself with his co-workers. So that's it, guys. Hit the bell, subscribe, like if you like the video, and comment if you like it as well. Peace.
All right, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Peace, and let's help you grow.
I learned a lot of things. I've been doing me, I've been doing okay. Come fuck with me, be my